My Place in History by Hanifa Johnson.
My story starts on the island of Jamaica in 1947. On July 15th, 1947, my grandmother Dorothy Johnson was born to my great-grandmother Hilda and my great-grandfather Eustace. My grandmother's childhood was simple. She had 3 brothers, Norman, Lenny, and Fitz, and 1 sister, Ruby. They owned a piece of land and had a pretty normal life. For her, Jamaica was peaceful. There weren't any wars with other countries. In 1962, when my grandmother was 15 years old, Jamaica became officially independent after 300 years of British rule. Alexander Bustamante was elected in April 1962 and became the first Prime Minister of Jamaica. On August 6, 1962, Jamaica became an independent nation and a member of the British Commonwealth. Since then, every year on August 6, Jamaicans celebrate Independence Day. These were fun times for my grandmother. In 1968, my Aunt Jackie was born, and in 1970, my Aunt Deanne was born to my grandmother and their father, Ellis Harding. 2 years later, my Auntie Maxine was born to my grandmother and her father, Keith Garrison.
My grandmother had lived her whole life in Jamaica up until the age of 29 in 1976. That year, my grandmother made the choice to leave Jamaica. At the time, a bunch of her friends had made the decision to go to Canada, so she wanted to go along with them. Canada was also open to immigrants from other countries. On October 8, 1971, Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau announced multiculturalism as an official government policy. Multiculturalism is the presence and support of several distinct cultural and ethnic groups in a society.
Through this policy, my grandmother was able to immigrate to Canada. People were welcomed by seeing all the different nationalities. When my grandmother came, she was anxious because she didn't know what to expect. She felt as though she didn't belong or fit in due to the new culture. Throughout time by observing, she learned about the culture and felt more included. It was a learning experience. Moving from one country to another was nerve-wracking, but seeing all people together, she realized it wasn't so bad.
The lady that sponsored my grandmother picked her up from the airport with her 2 kids. She lived with her for 6 weeks before moving with another family for 2 months. For both families, she worked as a nanny and a housekeeper. She didn't know how to cook Canadian food, and the woman and her kids were often unpleased. She felt like there wasn't any communications, only commands. She felt distant from the families she was with, which made living much harder. She felt that because she was a black person from the Caribbean, she was alienated. One child used to spit on her and refused to speak to her. Because she was black, she found it very difficult to earn respect. She had a visa for 6 months and could switch from family to family. She found it hard to find a family that would really accept her. She was often verbally abused and discriminated by contacting immigration she could leave and find a different place. Upon arrival, my grandmother originally came to Barrie. She felt that it was too slow-moving and country for her. There was a lack of other cultures, black and even Jamaican people. She wanted to move to Toronto because it was more fast-paced and multicultural. She moved to Scarborough in the 1980s. Shortly after moving on February 27, 1981, she had twins, my mother Julia and my uncle Julian. In 1988, the Ben Johnson's doping scandal happened. Despite only being 7, my mom vividly remembers this event. Ben Johnson was a Jamaican-Canadian sprinter. He was accused of doping and was stripped of his gold medal. This was significant for my family because Ben Johnson was Jamaican. His success made them proud, but the scandal was disappointing. This incident started the Ben Didn't Do It campaign, where the public advocated and supported him. That same year, Hurricane Gilbert struck Jamaica. Hurricane Gilbert struck Jamaica at a Category 5 hurricane. The hurricane covered the entire island. Approximately 500,000 of the country's 2 million people were left homeless. Worst of all, more than 200 people lost their lives. When it happened, my Aunt Deanne, Maxine, and Jackie were all in Jamaica. They called to let my grandma, uncle, and mom know what had happened. It was a relief that everyone ended up being okay. 1992-1993. The Blue Jays won the World Series 2 years in a row. My mom remembers sitting up watching the game. It was the first time she had watched a baseball game start to finish. She remembers feeling proud to be Canadian and the feeling of absolute joy and excitement. Years later, on the morning of September 11, 2001, my mom was watching the news and remembers the horrifying moment when the Twin Towers were struck. This event was significant for most Canadians. Seeing those planes connect the tower and knowing the devastation it caused was a big deal for a lot of people. To this day, people still talk about 9/11 and keep the people in their minds and hearts. After graduating high school, my mother took a year off and worked full-time at Hudson's Bay Company. She then took another year off. After the second year off, she took a course at Ryerson University for economics, but it wasn't for her. The year after that, she got pregnant with me with my dad, Ahmed Bawa. The year before I was born, my mom, grandma, and uncle all moved to a house in Markham. The year after moving, she had me on July 31st, 2004. Sadly, things didn't work out between my parents and they split right when I was born. 4 years later, my mom got remarried and had my younger sister, Rashida, on September 11, 2008. Sadly, things didn't work out with her father either. When I was 4, I met my stepmom, Shima, for the first time. We instantly connected. On August 24th, 2009, Shima gave birth to my other younger sister, El Shaddai. On January 7th, 2011, my brother Isaiah was born. On August 25th, 2013, my dad got married to my stepmom. Sadly, I wasn't at the wedding. The next year, my second brother Josiah was born on April 16th, 2014. Lastly, on October 21st, 2018, my baby sister Shiloh was born. After my sister Rashida was born in 2008, my mom went to nursing school at Ryerson. Years later, I vaguely remember her going to her graduation. After she graduated, she got her first job as a nurse in the nursing home Union Villa. She then moved to South Lake Hospital where she worked as a general medicine and stroke rehab nurse for 3 years. After, she moved to Mackenzie Health Hospital where she worked as an ER nurse for 2 years. Finally, she moved to Markham Stouffville Hospital as an ER nurse and is currently still working there. My mom has made her mark in Canadian history by helping to save lives. I want to follow in her footsteps by becoming a surgeon or possibly a lawyer. My father is an entrepreneur and owns his own business called Mama's Life Products that I am very proud of. My education starts when I was 3 years old. I attended Mindtech Montessori School for preschool and stayed up until 2014, which was grade 4. I moved to Stonebridge Public School in 2015, staying from grade 5 to grade 8. I graduated the year of 2018. That same year in 2018, I was accepted to Bill Cruller Secondary School. I attended from grade 9, which was 2018, to present day. I intend to stay until I graduate grade 12. I aspire to get a scholarship for basketball so I can go to a great university and make my family proud. My family is something that I am happy to be a part of. On my mother's side, I am Jamaican, and on my father's side, I'm Ghanaian. This means that I have a very rich heritage. My life has just begun, and I know that I'll make my mark doing something amazing. This is my place in Canadian history.